be given away. Log on to marinraffle.com or call 888-999.
Parking up is Folgers in your cup.
Today, it's out with the old and in with the new. Container plants, that is. I'll decide which ones are keepers and which ones are goners. And I'll go nuts for these healthy and tasty treats. Plus, I'll show you some birdhouses that hold more than just a feathery friend. Cool! With temperatures in the 20s and wind chills in the teens, it's hard to believe that within a month or so, I'll be ready to begin one of my favorite forms of gardening, namely growing all sorts of stuff in containers. Of course, between now and then, I got a lot of work to do. That's because many of my containers contain remnants of last year's plants, the bulk of which didn't survive the winter. So the task at hand is simple enough. I've got to remove the plants and get the containers ready for yet another season of container gardening, which is sometimes easier said than done. The easy tasks are really easy, and they involve the smaller container plantings of annuals. Like this fern growing in this elongated pot, often called a tom-tom pot because it looks like a cute little drum. Now, plants like this, I can just lift straight out of the pot, top growth, roots, potting mix, and all. I'll deal with a number of other annuals of various sizes in much the same way, tossing the remains in my wheelbarrow. But as the containers get larger, my tactics change. Containers such as this, and those even larger, contain a fair amount of potting mix. So rather than dump the entire contents of the container into my wheelbarrow, I'm going to dig out the plant. That way I can salvage at least half the potting mix. The digging process may require a number of different tools, but one of my favorites is this trowel with a serrated edge. It cuts through thick roots with relative ease and allows me to lift the top growth and the bulk of the root ball out of the container while leaving the bulk of the potting mix intact. After all, potting mix isn't cheap. Now I will go ahead and remove, maybe as much as half of what's in this container, dumping that stuff in the compost pile, and then I'll add fresh potting mix when I replant. But this is a great little technique, and it translates into real savings, especially when you've got as many containers as I do. I've got a few perennials in containers, and I can deal with them in a couple of different ways. One is to simply trim the top growth of the plants and wait for them to generate new growth in spring. In fact, this coreopsis here has already started to generate new growth. Hey, you might want to slow down a little bit there, buddy. It's cold. The other is to remove the plants from their containers and plant them directly in the ground. But given that the former approach is much easier than the latter, that's the way I'm going to go. In the process, I'll just trim the faded foliage back to the base of the plant, being careful not to damage the crown of the plant. Now, in some cases, perennials grown in containers may not survive the winter, even though the plants are considered hardy in your area. And the reason is simple. Hardiness ratings, for the most part anyway, are based on plants that are grown in the ground where the roots are fully insulated. Plants grown in containers are exposed to the elements. The roots aren't fully insulated. See? I told you it was simple. Having addressed both annuals and perennials, here's the situation in which I have, or at least had, both growing in the same container. The annual in this case was a palm, and the perennial is this ivy. Now, obviously the palm's a goner, but the ivy actually looks pretty good. So for now anyway, I'm going to dig out the palm, being careful not to disturb the roots of the ivy too much. This way, I can stick another small palm in the pot come spring and leave the ivy intact. Regarding the beret today, well, it's like my grandfather always said, when your hands and feet are cold, put on a hat. Okay, now it's time to deal with a few evergreens in pots. These large decorative containers each house an upright arborvitae as the centerpiece, and at the base of each are low-growing, gold-tipped junipers. The arborvitaes are a bit discolored at the moment, but that's just the result of exposure to extreme cold. However, on this side of the plant you can see there are a lot of dead branches, and I'm to blame for that. I forgot to rotate the containers during the growing season so that the entire plant received even light. So I'm going to remove the dead growth, rotate the containers, and hope that new growth will balance things out a bit. As for the junipers, they look okay, but I'm going to trim them up a bit as well because much like the arborvitaes, those that didn't get enough sun suffered. This Hinoki Cypress looks great, and I'm going to leave it in its container for at least another season. Ditto this juniper. and this adorable pine, and this cute Cypress. Of course, I could plant these evergreens directly in the ground if I wanted to, and in most parts of the country, the best time to do that is either in early fall or late winter. But even if I wanted to plant these today, I couldn't, because the ground is frozen. And come to think of it, so am I. So to get my blood flowing, I'm going to put all the plant remains and potting mix in my wheelbarrow to good use. That means chopping it all up with a machete and dumping it all in the compost pile. With that task complete, I'll turn the pile with a hay fork. Now remember, to cook properly, a compost pile needs oxygen. And come to think of it, so do I. It also needs moisture, so even during the winter months, it's a good idea to check the moisture content of the pile and add a little water when necessary, just so you can maintain the consistency of, well, a wrung-out sponge. And now I've got one last thing to consider regarding all my containers. To clean or not to clean? That is the question. If your plant showed visible signs of damage from fungal disease during the growing season, whether in the form of powdery mildew, rust, or black spot on leaf surfaces, then you should probably scrub your pots well and disinfect them with a solution containing 1 part bleach and 9 parts water. But if they didn't show signs of disease, you can simply scrub your pots with a brush and skip the disinfecting process. Well, now that I've got all my containers cleaned up and ready for yet another season of container gardening, about all I can do is sit back and wait for the weather to warm up a bit. Of course, I think I'll do my sitting back inside because I need to warm up a bit myself. Man, is it ever cold. Oh! Flavored, sliced, or diced, I just can't get enough of this protein-packed snack. Plus, I've got a cool way to hide your unsightly speakers.
On our Facebook wall, Holly Joy writes, I just love Antonio. Cannot wait for his show. Antonio says, slow your roll, Holly Joy. The series doesn't hit till March. Thanks for watching.
You eat when you're happy. You eat when you're bored. Sometimes you don't know why you're eating at all. With the new Ally plan, you can learn the right way to use food. First, you become more conscious of what you eat. Then, at every meal, Ally stops some of the fat from being absorbed, boosting your weight loss by 50%. With Ally, when you change how you eat, your body will change, and that can change everything. Eat healthier, live happier. Learn how at myally.com.
If you buy the renegade idea that investing should be discussed face to face, not just inbox to inbox,
if you believe that your relationship with your investments shouldn't be long distance,
if you hold the wild-eyed theory that nest eggs, like children, should never be left with strangers,
join the nearly 7 million investors who think like you do. FaceTime and Think Time make a difference.
Join us.
At Edward Jones, it's how we make sense of investing.
Rated everyone. Your Shape builds a fitness routine personalized to you. Then Your Shape's motion tracker camera detects your moves so I can correct your form. It's fitness that's fun and focused on you.
More wings! No way he'll be in first thing tomorrow.
Only Alka-Seltzer relieves your upset stomach, heartburn, indigestion, and headaches, so you're good to go in the morning.
You're late.
Alka-Seltzer brings you back.
What will you find in a glass of silk? Smooth vanilla flavor with 0 cholesterol. And the power that's made from one of nature's perfect proteins that can help your heart and fortify your entire body. Silk. Vanilla, chocolate, and original. Strength in every pore.
He's one of Australia's most recognizable talents, a pioneer of the outdoor room concept, landscape designer Jamie Dury.
I think it's going to be a really interesting journey.
The Outdoor Room with Jamie Dury, all new series, Saturday at 9/8 Central on HGTV.
Can I go home and work in your yard with you?
The first shopper to say yes will win the Landscape Lottery.
You're going to come and preview our whole yard?
The crash is on. Yard Crashers. See back-to-back episodes today at 9:30 on DIY Network.
From simply salted to mouth-watering wasabi and soy sauce, I'm just nutty for these little protein powerhouses. And to learn how almonds go from this to this, I'm going straight to the source.
They're a really pretty hardy tree, and they can take quite a bit of abuse and keep on growing.
Mel Machado knows a thing or two about these hardy trees. He works for Blue Diamond Growers in Sacramento, California.
Yeah, it's got a pretty good crop this year, which we're seeing all around the state this year.
That's great. So this is a good year.
This is a good year. We're having a good year.
A good year for Mel is at least a ton per acre. That's enough to fill over 5,300 6-ounce cans. That's nuts! But in order to get that kind of crop, he'll need a little help from these guys.
Weather conditions are really critical since we are pollinated by honeybees, and those bees need good weather in order to fly.
So what do you got there, Mel?
We've got a branch of the non-pearl variety that I cut off on the way up here this morning, and it's the variety that really is the most versatile nut that we have. We can do just about anything to this. This is the one that you'll find in the stores that's best for snacking. This is the Butte variety, and a very tight clustering variety, and you can see that it has a lot more nuts on it.
It's a Butte?
It's a Butte, yeah. It's a very nice variety. It's used a lot in the candy market.
Mel, is a question I'm sure you've been asked 1,000 times, so here comes 1,001.
Okay.
Almond or almond?
Well, I say they're almonds if you eat them, and almonds if you grow them, and nuts if you don't care.
Call them what you will, but I just can't seem to get these babies to fruit in my Zone 6 garden. What gives, Mel?
What you're looking for is a Mediterranean climate. You want cold winters, but not below about 25, 26 degrees in the wintertime when the tree is dormant. Once it starts to begin blooming, which here in California is about the middle of February, we're going to see the first open flowers on a normal kind of year. Once that process starts, you want nothing below freezing, nothing below 32.
California has the perfect climate for growing almonds, and it better, since it produces 100% of commercial almonds in the U.S. Over 2/3 of California almonds are exported to 95 different countries. But don't worry, there's still plenty left for us. Do you have aggressive pruning practices or anything, or you just let them go?
That's actually becoming somewhat of a controversy. Traditionally, the growers have been pruning these trees and removing about 1/5 of the wood every year because almonds produce on 1 to 5-year-old wood. Lately, there's been quite a bit of research done by the university that's talking about no pruning or minimal pruning. What we're trying to do is get somewhat of an open-like structure to get the light through that tree and get it all the way down into the canopy. So really, pruning becomes an experience in light management.
All of this talk of aggressive pruning is making me hungry. Let's move on to the good stuff. When can we harvest?
If you're blooming middle of February to the later varieties, the middle of March, the first harvest here in California is going to be right near the end of July. We normally get our first loads from the huller shellers out in the fields between the 5th and the 15th of August. And that harvest will continue on into, the first part of the middle of October, and then we're done out in the fields.
Just how do they get nuts off the tree without picking them off one by one, you might ask? Easy. Just give the tree a little shake, shake, shake. And then it winds up here.
Winds up ultimately here, yeah, but it has to be hulled or shelled first.
This is the production plant. Mel handed me off to his associate, Matt Lopez, who has kindly agreed to walk me through the cleaning and shipping process, step by noisy step.
All right, Matt, what's going on here? Basically, you have what's called a Rotex separator. Based on the weight of your core material and the difference between that and your nut, it separates them, kicks out the shell, holes, has to be on the straight through.
Next, we move along to the de-stoner machine. As the name suggests, it removes any stones that might have tagged along from the field or anything else heavier than an almond. This hungry machine usually removes about 6 pieces of foreign material per 100 pounds.
From there, you're going to go ahead and go over to what we call our gravity table. It has graders in there that'll separate it by size, but it also takes the larger, heavier kernels to one side and the small kernels to the other. Let's go look at that. This product here is going to go for further cleaning, really. Electronic sorting equipment, we have more of it down below. You're also going to see like chips and scraps taken out of it to clean it up as far as appearance.
State-of-the-art electronic sorting machines use different colored lasers against a solid background to identify color differentials in the almonds. This helps them get rid of foreign materials and nuts with insect damage, chips, or scratches. Pretty cool.
At what point am I going to get to eat an almond? Let's wait till it gets cleaned up and we get a good clean almond. We're still working it and trying to get it to that level right now.
I better not have to wait too much longer. Watching a steady stream of superfood, taking the stairs, plus calisthenics equals a very hungry Paul. What now, Matt?
Well, now we're on our, what we refer to as our final sorting belts. These are going to be the final eyes on the product for form material removal.
But up until this point, you've relied on extremely expensive, sophisticated equipment to do the job, and yet ultimately it still comes down to this?
Down to this, but you see here we only have 2 ladies or a single lady on each belt. At one time, these belts would have been lined with ladies.
So these are safe to eat?
This is a clean product here. Most of the time, it's already down to our 1 in 1,000, 1 to 500. By this point, we just want to have the final eyes before it goes to pack out.
I finally got an almond. Once these ladies give the almonds their seal of approval, they either go straight into flavoring and shipping or off to be sliced and diced, blanched, or slivered. After holding back all day, I just can't help myself. I'm just nuts for almonds. Delicious. Coming up, I'll show you some birdhouses that are more than meets the eye. At your wits' end with weeds? I'll show you some tips to tackle those rascals before they know what hit them.
12 talented interior design students competing for one coveted internship at the premier design shop.
I might leave them in the dust.
Design interns.
I just think that we can't go too far. Can we go all the way? You're not right for this job.
Things go wrong. Personalities clash.
That looks terrible.
But the real stars will shine through. The pressure is on.
We have 2 days, honey.
Design Interns. Series premiere Saturday at 10 p.m. only on HGTV.
We're on the road to show people.
We've made a great product even better. Watch. Shell nitrogen-enriched gasolines clean the gunk left by lower quality gasoline. And all 3 grades act as a protective barrier to shield and protect engines from performance-robbing gunk. Try nitrogen-enriched Shell gasolines.
Helping you get the most out of every drop.
Gunk doesn't stand a chance.
Are you saving that for later?
Today, magic happened in booth 9. Somewhere between the 3rd cup of coffee and that stale powdered donut, 2 people became 1 couple. The beginning. Start yours today at Match.com.
Quilted Northern Ultra Plush, the only 3-layered bath tissue with plush quilts. It's so luxurious, it may inspire you to make all the things you touch ultra plush. Quilted Northern Ultra Plush, luxury you can see and feel.
All over the world, cat owners are subjected to a rather primitive practice, living with cat litter.
I can't stand cat litter anymore.
Say hello to Cat Genie. Browse on to catgenie.com. On the double, step into the 21st century. Touch here and never touch cat litter again. Never again. Cat Genie.
Start the new year off on the right foot with big savings on quality flooring from Empire. Act now and you can get $1,000 off a wide selection of name brand hardwood, laminate, vinyl, or ceramic tile. Shop at home. We install next day and offer a low price guarantee. Plus, no payments and no interest till 2011. Get $1,000 off beautiful new flooring from Empire. Call today.
800-588-2300 Today.
Thinking about your next home improvement project? Then check out the Home and Garden Show on demand. Get ideas and tips through a variety of videos that are free to watch, available 24/7 and easy to find.
If you own guns, it's time to improve your home security. Visit the Home and Garden Show on demand to discover how the right gun safe from Security Safe USA can help protect your firearms, your home, and your family. From your Comcast digital remote, go to channel 888, select Home and Garden, Home Security, then choose Security Safe.
Ah, don't you just love the sound of music in your backyard? But these days, backyards are more than just a haven for birds, bugs, and plants.
The backyard is an entertaining space. It's an outdoor room. It's an extension of the house. It just doesn't have a ceiling.
Speakers can be the perfect backyard accessories for setting the mood for a party or just hanging out. But they can also stick out like a sore thumb.
Typically, when you look at outdoor speakers, they often look like little shoe boxes that are stuck up under the eaves, and you know exactly what they are, and they aren't aesthetically really the greatest looking thing.
Well, it's time to toss out those shoe boxes. Peter Whiteley from Sunset Magazine has a great idea for camouflaging those speakers. put them into birdhouses. Genius!
I thought, well, let's make them totally invisible and put something in your backyard that you wouldn't question being there.
You mean build a birdhouse from scratch?
You don't have to be a fine woodworker. There's something forgiving about a birdhouse. It's crude somewhat. You can paint them, or you can just use natural wood.
All you need is a good speaker.
I had this one around my home. It's an old TV speaker that I had that hooked up my stereo. Or you might have an old boom box with separate speakers. You could use those.
And some old wood that may be lying around your house.
I also found some really handsome old fencing that had some weathering to it. For this size little speaker that I have, I could build the whole birdhouse using 2 6-foot fence boards. There are no rules here. That's the neat part about it. There's no rule on size. There's no rule on how it's going to look.
Cutting the wood pieces to fit around your speaker is key. It's just like making a gingerbread house. You've got a floor base, 2 end walls.
Here, I just have a 90-degree corner, and it's centered over the middle of this little board so that it's a very simple shape to cut.
And 2 side walls.
The sides, I ripped the board slightly here so that it would match the pitch, so when it fits together it'll be a nice clean look.
Peter cuts a hole out of the floor base, making a picture frame for the speaker so that the sound has somewhere to go. Trust me, your neighbors will appreciate you for it.
The thing that's neat about these birdhouses is that they drive the sound down. They don't aim out. And it sort of bounces off the walls or the ground and spills out, kind of like ripples of water.
Stapling a netting screen onto the base will keep the speaker from falling through the hole.
So now I'm ready to build the little birdhouse. I put the side walls on end, and I'm going to glue and nail the top on. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to run a little bit of woodworking glue along the top here.
If you're using old wood or warped wood, make sure to drill pilot holes before you hammer in the nails or drive in screws. And try not to do this. Of course, no birdhouse would be complete without a bird hole, but it's just for show. No birds allowed in here. Peter covers the hole with a small piece of particle board.
So now I have a see-through birdhouse, and what's going to happen is that I'm going to mount it to the base like this. I'm going to use 4 screws so that you can take this apart and have access to the speaker if anything goes wrong in time.
You'll want to hook up your speaker before placing it in the birdhouse. Once inside, it's easy to keep in place.
You could cut some little wooden shims that would help just slide against the sides and ends to pretty much lock it in place. So now we got the speaker inside, the wires coming out the back, and I'm ready to add the roof. The bird's really anxious to get in.
A roof made out of aluminum flashing is always good for waterproofing purposes. If you want a shingle roof, these wood wedges will do the trick.
I happen to have found some really nice big old heavy cedar shakes that we have here at our workplace, and I'm going to make these into the roof.
Remember, precise measuring and cutting are key to having a perfectly angled roof.
So hopefully these should fit together along the ridge here. Since this is basically just 2 45-degree angles, I think I'm going to throw a little glue on here just to make sure that it's reasonably watertight.
Just a few more screws and Peter's tweeter is ready for show and tell. This one's going on the wall. How? Screw a small beveled piece of wood to the wall. Then cut and attach a couple of wood brackets to the back of the birdhouse like this, and voila!
There you are, ready for occupancy or tunes.
Who says these charming nest boxes are just for the birds? Next, how to win the war with weeds.
First-time home buyers are still leaping into the market. And real estate expert Sandra Rinamato shows them the way.
I want to establish market value for this home.
With an entire hour of Property Virgins, tomorrow night at 8/7 Central, part of HGTV's First-Time Home Buyers Hour.
Are you taking a statin medication to lower your bad cholesterol, but your good cholesterol and triglycerides are still out of line? Then you may not be seeing the whole picture. Ask your doctor about Trilipix. If you're at high risk of heart disease and taking a statin to lower bad cholesterol, along with diet, adding Trilipix can lower fatty triglycerides and raise good cholesterol to help improve all three cholesterol numbers. Trilipix has not been shown to prevent heart attacks or stroke more than a statin alone.
Trilipix is not for everyone, including people with liver, gallbladder, or severe kidney disease, or nursing women. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and if you are pregnant or may become pregnant. Blood tests are needed before and during treatment to check for liver problems. Contact your doctor if you develop unexplained muscle pain or weakness, as this can be a sign of a rare but serious side effect. This risk may be increased when Trilipix is used with a statin.
If you cannot afford your medication, call 1-866-4-TRILIPIX for more information. Trilipix, there's more to cholesterol. Get the picture.
So, you know everything about salad?
Yes, I do.
Close your eyes.
Done. Well, hello, spring mix. Bold flavor, yet oh so tender. Classic romaine. Mild flavor, big crunch. Spinach.
And it pairs well with? You're good.
And you can be good, too. Just look at our new Dole Salad Guide for tastes, textures, and pairings. Dole, let the guide be your guide.
Clean up in aisle 6.
Miss Davis, this is OnStar. I've received a signal you've been in a crash. I'm contacting emergency services.
OnStar reporting a front-end crash on Wakefield Road.
Chevy Malibu, airbags deployed, injuries reported. Please respond.
Ma'am, help is on the way.
Okay, and I'll stay on the line with you till they get there.
Automatic crash response, built into 15 Chevy models.
Hot fudge sundae.
Ooh, frosted blueberry.
Over 25 flavors of Kellogg's Pop-Tarts, and they're all for fun and fun for all. Pop-Tarts, made for fun.
The other day I couldn't help but chuckle as I watched my neighbor apply a pre-emergent herbicide. It wasn't that he was using the wrong product or the wrong technique or anything like that. What made me chuckle was that his timing was all wrong. Well, that and the fact that he was wearing a pair of really goofy-looking shorts. You see, he was applying a pre-emergent herbicide at least 2 weeks after the most common lawn weeds had already emerged, which defeats the whole purpose of applying a pre-emergent. Pre-emergent herbicides must be applied before weeds appear to have any real effect, because they work by preventing weed seeds from germinating in the first place. Henbit, anyone? If you wait until after the weeds emerge, the herbicide won't have any effect. And yet millions of Americans do just that, which not only results in a waste of money, but in many cases results in considerable pollution of the soil, the groundwater, and nearby rivers, lakes, and oceans. And so timing is critical. Now, I know that many of you have heard that you should time the application of pre-emergent herbicides to certain botanical events, such as daffodils or forsythias in bloom. You've heard that, haven't you, Marley? Well, that's bad information, folks, because by the time these beauties are in bloom, most of the weeds will have already emerged. So this year, note when the weeds begin to sprout and backtrack 2 or 3 weeks. That's when you should apply a pre-emergent. Of course, if you miss the window of opportunity for applying a pre-emergent herbicide, you can always apply a post-emergent herbicide. And again, as the name makes clear, post-emergent herbicides work by destroying already established weeds. But be careful. Some post-emergent herbicides are selective, meaning they only target specific weeds, while others are non-selective, which means they destroy anything and everything green, whether weeds, your grass, flowers, shrubs. Well, you get the idea. So read the product label. And let me make one thing perfectly clear. You'll never get rid of all the weeds in your lawn anyway. Wind will blow seeds from nearby lawns into your lawn. Birds will deposit them here and there. Even kids running from one lawn to the next will transport weed seeds on their shoes. So do what you feel you must to battle the weeds in your lawn, but do it wisely. Use all-natural pre-emergent herbicides made from corn gluten. Use all-natural post-emergents made from horticultural vinegar and clove oil. Raise the deck height of your mower at least 1 notch to prevent the weed seeds from germinating in the first place, and fertilize twice a year to promote a vigorous turf that'll choke out most of the weeds. That's what I do. You can too. To learn more about weed control or anything else you've seen on today's show, Go to hgtv.com/the greatest gardening show in the history of television. Well, actually, that's /gardening by the yard.